Lovely. Thank you so much, Saturday Toastmaster Circle, TMC, Toastmaster Club, for having me today. It's actually a pleasure. I'm joining in from all the way from Dubai, because one is that I actually really wanted to join you all at this meeting, and number two is to hopefully impart a little bit of knowledge that I have to you. So at the end of this 45-minute presentation, that you will have some new skills that you can apply in your life. So I hope that's fine with everybody. And I'm just going to share my presentation. I just want to maybe check with the Madam Toastmaster if it is clear and if you could see.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, wonderful. And do you see the change of slides?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Fantastic. So today I'm here to just give you an introduction to social and business communication. I am a social and business communication coach, and today's subject, basically, I'm just going to give you a summary in a nutshell. It's a pretty broad subject. It takes actually hours, months to train on, and I train quite a few individuals and companies and groups. It takes a little time, but today I just wanted to maybe touch on a few areas and a few points that you could take back with you. Before I really get into the details, let me tell you why I got into communication. It goes a long way back, many years ago, and I actually started communication for selfish reasons, number one. Because when I started my career, actually, I was very weak at communication. I had problems at meetings to be able to express myself, and especially when I'm with the group, I got drowned in the conversations, and I could really never voice my opinions or have a conversation. I don't know if many of you have faced that or are facing those kind of situations. That is what was one of the reasons that I thought if I do not develop my communication skills, I would not be able to progress in my career or in my life. And that is the reason I started to really study communication. I got into many books, research papers, I did a lot of practice, followed a lot of great communicators. And one of the main reasons in 2007, I joined Toastmasters long time back to really develop my communication skills. And Toastmasters, for the last, I would say, 10 years has helped me develop my confidence, has given me the opportunity to get onto stages, which I would say have got onto over 100 stages now, thanks to Toastmasters, done so much of presentations, and that has really helped me build my confidence. Now, Toastmasters, of course, ladies and gentlemen, understand that it is an area that teaches you on public speaking, how you get onto a stage and how you give a speech to people, and of course, develop your leadership skills. But there's also another area in communication, many other areas in communication that Toastmasters will not touch on. And that is why I'm here today, to really impart that knowledge to you as well. So it's going to take 45 minutes. I hope I could condense all of this into 45 minutes. I apologize if I speed up in a few areas, but let's go together. And at the end, there will be a short Q&A. And if you have any questions, we can take it after the presentation. Okay, so many of you may know who Warren Buffett is. I guess he's the third or fourth richest man in the world right now. And he, of course, is a finance person. He's a numbers guy. So you would expect him to talk about, oh, know your finances, know your numbers. But Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, said this: if you can't communicate and talk to other people and get across your ideas, you're giving up on your potential. So this is coming from one of the richest men in the world. So if he says something like this, I guess a lot of us should take note to understand that communication and being able to talk to somebody would be really, really important. And in the last, I would say, 15 years of my life, I have learned that this is one of the, or for myself, the most important skill that anybody should learn. And let me tell you why. But today, the presentation that we're going to look into, the few key points is, why is it important, communication, overcoming the big three, verbal mastery, body language, persuasion, and understanding personalities. These are, of course, broad areas in terms of the subject, but I will touch on just a few areas in these particular subjects to give you a little bit of an overview of what these subjects are. Number one, why is it important? First and foremost, please understand, in many countries, especially also in Sri Lanka, they don't teach it in schools or universities or anywhere. You very rarely find communication being taught as a particular subject. You have a lot of theoretical subjects and things like that. It is very, very rare that communication is actually taught in schools, which I am a firm believer it should be brought into the curriculum, because communication is one of the most important subjects to learn. Communication is not prioritized. A lot of institutions, companies, schools, universities do not actually prioritize on communication. And most importantly, we as individuals, we do not prioritize communication. We prioritize on many other aspects, but communication is right at the bottom of the list. I believe this should be right on the top of the list. Communication is like an MBA. For me, in the last 10 years, I've been studying this. I've done also an MBA, but I have to tell you, what I've learned by myself in communication is far, far greater than the MBA I did. So if you really want to dive into communication, and I do really have a vast training program on communication, trust me, it is very similar to an MBA if you could really learn all the aspects of communication. Please also know that communication is all about the likability. All right, so when you communicate, what you're trying to actually do, the simple form is you're trying to be likable. People should like you. Is it a customer? Is it your family? Is it your friends, your boss, your peers? If nobody likes you, no matter how good you are in speaking, it doesn't matter. So in this communication area, we teach you how to be more likable, how to be a likable communicator. One of the biggest problems you're facing is the new generation. I'm sure there's quite a few here. We are stuck in the tech bubble. It's all about the phone. It's all about the iPads. It's all about the laptops. It's all about Netflix, YouTube. Unfortunately, I myself have seen it many times, especially when you are outside, especially if you're in the public, when you travel by bus or by train. I see so many have their headphones on, listening to music or in a trance on social media, and have no idea that there's so many people around you that you could start a conversation with, you could smile with, so many things you can do to communicate. But because of the devices we have around us, communication is put aside. We try to communicate with our devices. And please remember, it's very rare that the devices talk back to you. So if you are somebody who always has your headphones on, try it once. Take your headphones off, travel in a bus or in the train, just look around, smile at people. I remember when I was in school, we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have devices. So when we used to go in the bus, I used to have, because we have to communicate, I used to have a girlfriend every single month in the bus. So there were certain times that I had to actually change the route because I couldn't go on the same route because of dangers of meeting the same person. But it really helped us, and I remember the good times. So I believe that for the new generation, try to get away from your devices and get a little bit more into, speaking to people and saying hi to people. $37 billion. Now, this is a research that they did in the US alone. They say that companies lose $37 billion annually, just because of poor communication. $37 billion. This in the US. I believe if you take the whole world, it will definitely be over $100 billion that is lost just because of poor communication. There's been many fatal communication errors that has happened. There's a few case studies. If you'd like, I would share it with you by email if you reach out to me. But there has been many companies. For example, there was a Canadian company many years ago. They did a contract, and just because they put an additional comma into the contract, the whole context of the statement changed, and they had to pay $2 million as compensation because of this additional comma. So you could say it's just a tiny little thing could make a massive difference in how we communicate and how people will perceive us. Remember, if you do become a good communicator, if you really prioritize on this, you will be in the minority, because I would say 90% of the world is not focused on it. 90% of the world doesn't know how important it is. So if you actually get into this and really learn this area, you will be the minority, and you will be able to take the advantage of all the opportunity you will get, because if you are a good communicator. So this is why it's so important to really look at communication. You would see there's so much that opportunity cost for us, so much of things that we're losing because we're not being able to really use communication to the fullest. Okay, so we're moving on to overcoming the big three. What is the big three? All of us know it. It's embarrassment, rejection, and failure. Three things we try our utmost to not meet, isn't it? We all want to walk away from rejection. We absolutely dread it. Failure and the embarrassments, right? I think we'd rather jump off a building than rather face rejection. But unfortunately, if you want to be a good communicator, you should be able to embrace the three areas of rejection, embarrassment, and failure. Always remember, everybody, it's in the mind. There's nowhere else that the fear is. There's a reason for it, because the brain or the mind is a million-year-old device. It is not trained to make you happy, or it's not trained for you to be pushed forward. It's trained to protect you from all the dangers. In the past, it was the danger thousands of years ago about a tiger or a saber-toothed tiger chasing after a caveman, and he has to protect himself, he has to run away. We don't have that right now. What is our situation right now in terms of running away? We run away from social issues such as rejection, failure, and embarrassment. Our brains and minds it's trying to protect you from it. So we need to understand it and fight your brain to say it's okay to get rejected, it's okay to face embarrassment, and it is okay to fail. Once you really understand this and accept it, a lot of doors will open for you. I'm telling it through experience. I was one person who really hated it. I ran away when you just see it from a distance, you start to run away. But once it's accepting it, a lot of doors open. Again, remember, success is about the numbers. Ask a good salesperson who takes cold calls. Many of you might know what a cold call is. It's a cold call that you take it without any, with the customer not knowing that you are calling them. It's just a normal call taken to an unknown person. So a lot of great salespersons say the more the calls they take, the luckier they get. So really good salespersons, they don't stop with 5 calls a day. If that's the quota, they will go for 10, 15 calls, because they know that they will face rejection, failures, and embarrassments, but they will go through it because it's all about the numbers. Out of these 15 calls, if 1 or 2 persons say yes, that's all they want. Remember also that if you want to make a friend, or if you want to make an impression, you're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to make friends with everybody. But all you need to do is understand, it's okay. I'll try 10 times. And if I can make 1 friend out of the 10 times, that's a victory. Don't worry about the 9 failures. A lot of us always focus on the failures. Oh, I failed. I shouldn't do it again because I fail again. Don't worry about it. Just go with it. It's about you fighting your mind. This is most important. Be okay with 20%. What is this? The conversion. It is about, if you try 10 times, be okay to fail 80 times. Just say it's totally fine. That's a part of the game. That's a part of life. I'm totally fine to fail. If I can convert 20%, like the sales guys do, they're looking for the 20% conversion, you should be happy. That means if you try 10 times and you make 1 or 2 friends, you are a winner already. So always remember, 20% is all you're seeking for in what you try. 0% trying is 0% achieved. A lot of us always stop at the first time we fail. We don't go beyond that. Always remember, if you don't try, you'll never know and you'll never succeed. So it's all about the numbers. Don't be 0. Always try to be pushing in doing as much as you can in converting your numbers. So how do you get there? It's all about starting small. And this is why the presentation is there today. I'm going to teach you a few little techniques, how to start the journey in becoming a really good communicator. So start with the small things, which we'll talk about in a bit. Rejection theory, if you do have the time, I will not go into detail about it, but there is a guy on YouTube. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, Jia Jiang. He's a Chinese guy, but he's living in the US. He did a kind of a program or self journey, which he took of getting rejected for 100 days. To get over his fear of rejection, he needed to face his fears. And it's a wonderful TED talk. If you do have time, check it out. He did 100 rejections for 100 days until he overcome the fear of rejection. He tried different things. So I would also say go through that YouTube and try a few things that you fear and just get rejected, because once you get used to it, you'll be fine. All right. It's like riding a bike. The power pose and the power greet, we'll be talking about this in a little while. It is a very simple thing to do, and it's the beginning of really joining the communication road or the path. So we'll talk about what the power pose and the power greet is. Okay, so let's move into verbal mastery. One of the areas in communication is verbal mastery. But always remember, verbal mastery, just words alone, is somewhere around 8 to 10% of actual communication, right? There's so many other aspects of communication, but having your verbal mastery is absolutely important. So we'll talk about vocal variation, power words, active listening, and open-ended questions. Of course, there's many other areas in the verbal mastery subject that we teach on, but I'm going to just touch on these things, which is the most important. Before really you figure out how, because you need power in your voice. Everybody knows this. When you do speak, if you have a soft voice and you are not heard, sometimes you get drowned in the conversation. So how do you actually improve and have power in your voice? Before you do that, you need to know a little bit about the science of how the voice works. Basically, where do you get the power? When we speak, there's power coming out of your mouth. Where does the power come from? It comes from your lungs, right? And if you speak to many musicians or athletes, they'll tell you that having strength in your lungs is what gives you the power. So how do you actually practice developing more power in your lungs? Generally, this presentation, I do it in a physical aspect and it's more fun. But hopefully one day that I will also come and we'll have a physical meeting and a physical presentation, and I could really show you how this is done. But just for the purpose of knowing it, you can sit upright or in your seat. Try to breathe in from your nose, just from your nose, not from your mouth. Fill up your lung as much as possible. Hold it as long as you can, for maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds. Some of the top musicians could hold it for even 2 minutes, right? As long as you can. The more you could hold, the more that you're really pushing your lungs and you're making it stronger. And when you need to exhale only from your mouth through your teeth like this, slowly, right? Practice this every day, and basically you just for a couple of minutes, you are practicing developing your lung capacity, your lung strength. All right, that is really important for you to project your voice a little bit more. Then it comes to the vibrator. Now, what is a vibrator? Vibrator is actually, because a lot of us have this misconception that our voice comes from our voice box, or it's called also larynx. It's called the larynx. Actually, there's nothing from the voice box. All you get is a hiss sound. When the power comes from your lungs, passing the larynx, it's a little muscle. All there is a little hiss sound. That's all. Where do we get our articulation, the beautiful voice, the beautiful words, the tonalities? All of that comes from, ladies and gentlemen, from your nose, from your tongue, from your lips. These are the areas where your voice really articulates from. Let me give you an example. If you don't believe me, when you have a cold, doesn't your voice change? It does, right? That is because your nose is blocked. That itself shows that having all of these areas strengthened would strengthen your articulation. So there is lots of training that you can do for your lips, for your tongue, for your breathing. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to really take you through this. But if you do Google up, you'll be able to look at the areas of how to train your vocal, your voice. There'll be quite a few, even on YouTube. If you can, I would suggest please do this, because having power in your voice is really going to help you when you do progress in your communication and in your careers as well. That's how the voice basically works. Then what do you do with the voice? Well, there are 4 areas that you need to develop: the pitch, the high and the low notes. Now, remember, a lot of the ladies, they have a high pitch, right? That's why they manage to control their husbands and boyfriends through having the high pitch. That is why the high pitch was developed, they say. And then the gentlemen, we have a low to mid-range pitch, right? So the high pitch is to the low pitch is right? How do you, but remember, it is a myth to say that guys cannot have a high pitch and ladies, you cannot have a low pitch. It's all about the practice and the training. There's quite a few areas to train, but a simple way for you to train it is the ambulance. Everyone has heard about the ambulance, how it sounds. So if you do practice it, it goes like, and go as low as you can. Try to reach your highest pitch and come down to your lowest pitch. I'm sure sometimes you will find it difficult to reach a certain pitch, but by practicing, you'll be able to increase your range. A better range is better for you on the pitch. The tone, how you say things, right? You don't go to a funeral house and say, hey, deeper sympathies, right? You don't go with a happy tonality into a funeral house. You change your tone, right? It's a more sadder tone that you have. So it is always important that you develop your tone, and there are many ways to develop it as well. I would suggest that you do a little Google search. You'll be able to find how to really develop your tonality and how to practice tonality. The third one is volume. We need volume. Now on virtual, we are fine because we are in a virtual aspect, but when you do actually have to present to a bigger group, or when you're in a room that is about 100 people and you actually don't have a microphone, you need power in your voice. You need volume in your voice. So try to develop volume. One little exercise that we do, a simple one, is counting from 1 to 10. So you start with 1, which is your lowest volume, right? And your 10 should be the highest that you can get to. All right, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? Keep practicing this. Somewhere down the line, your 10 should be, your volume should get higher and higher. It's all about the practice. So try to increase your volume, develop the volume of your voice, the rate as well. They say that sometimes we speak too slow, sometimes we speak too fast. It is about finding the perfect range in terms of the rate. There again, you can really go into Google and find out how to really figure out and developing your rate. Unfortunately, this itself is about a 2-hour presentation on vocal variety. Unfortunately, I'm just trying to take you through as quickly as possible. But develop the rate, because you shouldn't be too fast, you shouldn't be too slow. Keep it into the right range, because remember, when you're too slow, our brains tend to pick up things fast. And if it's slow, we lose the interest. We start thinking about other things. So you need to keep the audience going by having the correct rate. All right. So try to practice that as well. Then when it comes to adding color to your vocabulary, very crucial, ladies and gentlemen, the higher or a stronger vocabulary will be stronger for communication. So if we are using colloquial or very simple words, I would suggest that you start finding different words and start using it in your day-to-day conversation, because colorful words, power words will bring you power into your conversation. You can see lots of beautiful words on this slide that can be used as an alternative for example, the good feelings that you see in the middle there. Rather than I feel good, you could say I feel energetic, I feel enthusiastic, I feel exuberant, right? There are so many beautiful words that we can use, but sometimes we are stuck in the very simple form of things. The way that I started to actually learn a little bit in terms of trying to bring color to my vocabulary is I learned a word every single day, just one word. But remember, at the end of the year, you'll have 365 words learned. That's fabulous. So if there is just one word that you can learn a day, you are taking one step ahead every single day in becoming a better communicator. And there are thousands, you know it, thousands of words that you can use. So try to learn some of them. Idioms and phrases are very powerful in conversations. We see some of the top speakers and some of the top businessmen and some of the top conversationalists. They use wonderful idioms and phrases, right? You can say there's 10, I put out 8 things here, but there is so many more that are out there. Please try to use this in your conversations because this adds color. You need to have color in your conversation. We shouldn't be, boring in our conversations. Because of that, we need to bring in different words or different idioms and add color to your conversations. Again, if you can just learn one idiom or one phrase a day, at the end of the year, you'll have 365 with you, right? So try to maybe bring in and try to practice this and use this in your conversation as well. Okay, this is a very important area that we need to actually, which we don't really do, is active listening. Now, what is active listening? It's a 60-40 rule. A lot of us feel communication is always about speaking, right? One-way traffic. Not really. A good communicator is always about being a good listener. A good communicator will actually speak for 40% of the time or even 30% and let the other person speak for 60 to 70% of the time. That is the rule. How do you get them to do that, right? First of all, we need to shut up. We need to stop talking, but there are other ways to do it. Demonstrate concern. When they speak, a lot of us, the problem we are facing is we are always thinking of what are we going to answer. We're not actually listening to the conversation, right? Demonstrate concern. A lot of us are focused on something else and they say, oh, I'm going to commit suicide tomorrow, or I'm going to kill myself. Oh, that's fantastic. Really good to hear. Really good to hear, right? You could figure out there's been sometimes conversations like that because you're not listening to the person. Try to listen and try to demonstrate concern. If there is any conversation that someone wants to talk to you, really give active listening to that particular conversation. Paraphrasing, right? Paraphrasing is very important. What is paraphrasing? Is when they speak something, you are using a different set of words to highlight what was discussed. Example, if they're saying a certain aspect or they're talking about a certain area in their job, what you could say is, so what you are saying is that you don't like your job. So you're just reconfirming what they said and letting them continue the conversation. So paraphrasing is just trying to summarize it and make them really go ahead with their conversation. And when they speak, show understanding, such as nod, give eye contact, and lean forward. You've seen that people who are really interested in conversation will lean a little forward, right? So try to lean a little forward to show that you're really interested in the conversation. And during the conversation, don't be mute like an ancient like a city or like a stone or whatever. Just don't be mute. Just always give filler words to show that you're in the conversation. Like I see, I know, sure, thank you. Oh, I understand. That's all, and let them continue with the conversation. Right? That is what active listening is all about. Get rid of the obstacles. In Sri Lanka, especially, I have seen it's a really bad kind of a practice that we have. Is that when a conversation is going on, we keep checking our phone, right? We look at messages, or we're just tapping at our phone when the other person is speaking. You would see it in Europe. That is a sin, especially in Europe. You do not really, when you're in a conversation or when you're with a bunch of people, you put your phone aside, right? You don't really look at your phone. If you do get a call, you excuse yourself and take the call. But other than that, you have to get rid of the obstacles, because it's actually disrespectful to the other person if you keep looking at your phone or something like that. So move your phone aside when you're actually having a good conversation, especially with a client. A no is the phone. Leave the phone as far away from you as possible. Give attention to the person. Open-ended questions. What is this? All right. So open-ended questions is the what, why, how. How do you ask questions that would continue the other speaker to just keep on talking, right? Close questions, for example, is, do you like Toastmasters? It's a yes or no thing. If those kind of questions are asked, you're not really moving on in the conversation. How you could do it is, why do you like Toastmasters? Or another areas, tell me about yourself. Open-ended questions that lets the person be able to speak in a broader way, right? So try to develop open-ended questions. There's lots of ways and lots of techniques to use it. So again, there's lots of research that you might have to do after the presentation. But if you do really practice a few of open-ended questions, you can be a very good conversationalist, because other person feels, wow, we had a great conversation, but they feel good because they spoke a lot, right? They love to speak. People love to speak at people, but they don't want to really listen too much. So let them do it, and they will like you for it, actually. So this is open-ended questions and active listening, a very, very crucial area if you really want to be a good communicator that you need to develop. Body language, we feel, is not really required for communication. It is 55% of communication, right? A lot of us feel it's the verbal, it's about speaking, all about that. Really not. It's a scientific fact that 55% is body language. So you need to really develop your body language. So today we're going to just talk about this a little bit, because developing this area is really, really going to be crucial for you to take the next step forward in your careers and in your life. So we're going to talk about power, pose, and greet. A positive and negative, a few positive and negative body languages that we generally use, we should avoid. The handshake, all right, and facial expressions. Just a few areas. Of course, these are again deep subjects and deep areas which takes hours to really train on, but I'm just going to touch on a few areas. What is the power posture or the power pose? You see this gentleman, I think many of you know who this gentleman is, right? He's James Bond. But more than that, you would see, do you feel that that he's confident? Maybe raise of hands. Does everybody feel that he's confident, his posture? Yes. So it is basically, if you see the way he's standing, this is Daniel Craig, who is James Bond in this. He doesn't say he's confident, but his posture shows the confidence, right? His uprightness, how he stands, his face, his eye contact, all of this shows that he's confident, right? So sometimes when people look at you, they judge you in the first few seconds of what type of person you are, right? And your posture plays a huge role for them to evaluate if you're confident or not. So practicing confidence, right, you need to practice it through posture, just by practicing how to stand and how you look. All right. So what is posture? It's to stand with confidence. Okay. Breathe through your diaphragm or your lungs. It's very, very important that you can really, once you develop your breathing, you feel much more relaxed. Shoulders back, very important, right? And you should have your feet slightly apart. You would see in this picture also, of course, you can't see his feet, but you could see he's a little bit like on a V, all right? Don't have your feet too close. Don't have your feet too far apart, but have it just maybe a few inches apart. It shows, you make yourself big as much as possible. That shows a lot of confidence and open chest. Okay, have your hands either side and have an open chest. It shows that you have nothing to hide. You are a confident person. It's a very difficult, though we see it and we know it seems simple, but actually when you really get into it in communication, it's absolutely it's really difficult. We actually forget the posture when we go into a cocktail, or we go into a wedding or into a meeting. Posture is the last thing that we remember. But try to practice this as much as possible, because remember, people see you first, they evaluate you immediately, right? Even when Toastmasters, right? When we do a speech, when you walk onto the stage, we are evaluating you even before you start the conversation. Oh, what type of speaker is she's walking very slowly, doesn't seem confident. I mean, we are thinking it, right? In Toastmasters, we have evaluated you even before you start to speak. So try to develop the posture as much as possible, even when you get onto a stage or when you give a speech. At least 20% we have already evaluated you, and we already know, okay, do we want to listen to the speaker or not? All right. Look forward and your chin up as much as possible. Don't look down. Don't slouch, right? When we look down, lot of the time people perceive you as not so confident, that you can't give eye contact, you're feeling uneasy. So try it. It's a very difficult thing, especially in Sri Lankan culture, that the eye contact matter, and we try to always look down when we really don't want to give eye contact. But try to practice keeping your chin up and look at people, give eye contact. We're going to talk about this in the next slide. Now, when you walk, of course, in life, we do a lot of walking, right? And a lot of greeting. How do we do it? You can see it in this picture itself. Actually, I don't really need to even explain what a power walk is. The power walk is how you walk with an open chest, right? Hands either side, and you move your hands in a rhythmic way. Walk with a lovely stride, right? And it's a very difficult area for us, again, to practice. We always tend to forget this, but we need to practice the power walk. They say, fake it till you make it. That means try and try until you really build the power walk. Make adjustments. A lot of the time we forget, and we have a very, we go back to our old way of walking, which sometimes does not portray a lot of confidence. Go back and try to practice the power walk as much as you can. One of the ways is keep your chin up and give eye contact. When you are walking and when you're going to meet somebody, or when you're passing somebody, try to give eye contact and try to smile. It's very, very hard. I would say it now, and you say, oh, that's pretty simple, Garwin. What are you talking about? Oh, let me challenge you to try it. Okay, try doing this, not with people you know, but when you're maybe in office or on the streets, try to maybe do this. It's very difficult. A lot of the time, you look down, right? We show a little bit of submission. So don't do that. Try to look, give a smile, and if you have trouble giving eye contact, sometimes it's really difficult. Look at the person's forehead. Just look at the person's forehead. They won't know that you're looking at their forehead. They think that you're looking at their eyes, and they'll smile at you and do everything. But you just keep looking at the forehead and smile at the forehead. That's it. If you feel really uneasy with giving eye contact at the beginning, practice that. All right. That's a little bit of a tip. Make yourself large. When you walk, you have to make yourself a little large. Let me give you an example. It's not the greatest example, but if you look at the gorillas or the primates or the apes, you have a leader in the pack. And the leader of the pack is the alpha male, right? And you also get alpha females as well, not in the ape, but in our communities as well. But the alpha male is the leader. And the way he takes power is not by giving speeches or giving promises. He doesn't do all of those things. The gorilla, this is the gorilla. Basically what happens is he makes himself large. It's the biggest guy in the pack, that generally biggest and the strongest. But one of the techniques they use is he makes themselves large. And you can see here as well how his posture is, right? He shows that he is the man in the group, or the alpha in the group, by making themselves large. So even the primates, they know the game. They know how to use power walks and power posture for their advantage. So if they do it, why don't we do it too? All right. Practice for 30 days. It's a very difficult area. So you need to keep practicing. Practice makes perfect. So do this. I'm sure this, if there's one thing in this whole presentation that you could try to master, try this. This itself will make a huge difference in the way you feel and the way people pursue you as well. I know we are behind time, so I'm going to rush a little bit quickly. This is this one lady, Ruby Andrews. She has practiced this power walk, and this is what she says. In London, you have to be strong or you'll sink. I'm not someone who flourishes when I'm out of my comfort zone. So faking it has helped me feel more confident and capable, even when inside I feel scared. Right? It's not that we are not scared. We feel it, but we don't show it. We fake it till we make it. So one lady who tried it and has been successful in the whole process. What is positive body language? You would see in this picture, one of the important positive body languages, of course, the open body posture, but most importantly is open palms. Having open palms when you speak to somebody shows that you have nothing to hide. So, okay, sometimes when we were kids, when we did something wrong, when your parents called you, what is the first thing they ask you to show? Your hands, right? Show me your hands, and you reluctantly show your hands. Similarly, people love to see an open posture, open hands, open palms. That shows that you have nothing to hide in a very open person. So try to use open palms when you speak. The eye contact is really, really important in positive body language, right, in conversations. Like I said, if you're finding it really difficult to give direct eye contact, practice the forehead for the beginning, but don't make it a practice. But end of the day, you need to practice giving good eye contact, right? That shows your confidence. An area that very important for you all to know is understanding the feet of a person. When someone is actually interested in a conversation and really likes the other person and they're having a great conversation, you would see their feet facing the other person. In the first picture, you would see they're having a good conversation, they have connected, and both feet are facing the other person. But if you see in the second picture, the second guy who's in a t-shirt, one of his feet is facing outward. Generally, they say this is a sign that they want to exit the conversation, right? And their feet is showing where they actually want to go. Maybe it might be the exit, or maybe it's something, or maybe their desk or whatever, but it generally shows where they want to go. So when you're having a conversation, always try to look at the feet of the individual to see if you're actually engaged in the conversation, or if their feet is somewhere else. You either need to shift it, not physically, you shouldn't take their feet and move it towards you, but try to change the conversation so that it makes them interested in it. If you see the feet facing outward, that's maybe that they want to exit the conversation. So a little bit of psychological tips for you. All right. Negative body language is don't fold your arms. It shows that you're hiding your chest. It shows that you're not very sincere, right? Or you don't really trust the person or whatever. So you'd see in this pictures itself, by just looking at it, you know it's not very positive. So try to, like I say, if you have nothing to do with these hands, I know these hands sometimes get in the way, try to keep it either side, right? That's the best way to do it. Just keep it either side. Don't try to fold your arms too much in a conversation. I'm just going to give a quick story about this this negative body language. Bill Clinton, when he was actually trying to become the president of the United States, he was a great speaker, he was a great politician. But when he spoke, there was a problem, right? He used to give wonderful speeches. People loved him. Everybody thought he was going to be the president. But at the polls, just before the presidency or the elections, his numbers were down. They didn't know why, because he was the best. There was no other candidate who was better than Bill Clinton. But then they found out one fatal error. When he spoke with his finger out like this. no one likes to be spoken like this. What happens is we remember how our teachers used to speak to us, right? Do your homework or otherwise, or your parents when they were trying to punish you. Okay, so no one likes to be spoken this way. So in order for him to win the presidency, they had to change it. And you would see they couldn't stop his finger coming out, right? That was a psychological thing. Only thing they could do is ask him to lock his finger like this when he spoke. This was a little better than this. This itself, they say, we really don't know if it's absolutely one of the reasons, but they said just by changing that finger pointing to this, he managed to win the presidency. So a little bit of body language could make a big difference in what we do. So a little bit of a story. So ladies and gentlemen, do not point your finger, right? Important. Unless if, of course, you're trying to punish your child or whatever, but still don't do it. It's not a positive body language. Okay, we're in the last bit of the presentation, the handshake, all right? We all face it, of course, in the COVID times. We don't have to do this anymore. That's a great thing. But somewhere down the line, when COVID goes away, we'll have to do this. So let's practice this. And I've seen in Sri Lanka, this is a very, very weak area for all of us. I'll tell you what are the no-nos in a handshake, all right? The dead fish is a no-no. When you give a hand to another person, if you need to have some power in your hand. I've seen people giving a dead hand, right? You're shaking the person's hand, it's like it's dead. Give some power into your hand when you handshake. Don't just give a dead hand. Then, of course, ladies, you all must have experienced this many times. There are certain times when the gentlemen try to show their power by squeezing your hand too much. All right, and you have a bit of broken fingers after this. So the crusher, they call it. Do not squeeze the hands too much. Just give a firm handshake. This is not about a competition, right? Whose hand is more powerful. The lobster claw, this is also an area we have seen in Sri Lanka. I faced it many times. They don't give you the whole hand. They just give you a tiny piece of the hand, right? Like this. Again, it's a no-no. It's absolutely a negative. Try to give a proper handshake. Then there's one that is really, really difficult to do is you get the linger. The person who gives the handshake and doesn't take his hand, right? They just keep shaking your hand for a few minutes and it becomes very, very uncomfortable, right? So the golden rule is stay just maybe 1 or 2 feet apart. Extend your hand, 3 pumps, 1, 2, 3. Take your hand, but give a firm handshake and take off, right? Just don't linger too much with the handshake. Give a very positive eye contact and let go, right? That's all you need to do. Very powerful, but it is the other person would evaluate what type of person you are just by the handshake, right? They do that. It's scientifically proven. So try to give a very, very confident handshake. Out of facial expressions, I'm just only going to talk about one area, how to identify a genuine smile. A genuine smile, if you could look at this gentleman who's Ricky Martin, if everybody knows him, if it's a genuine smile, you will have crow feet at the side of your eyes, right? And if the older you get, the more crow feet you get, right? So I have quite a bit of crow feet, but if you really smile, you'll see a little bit of lines around your in the side of your eyes. Then you will see a little bit of like a tea bag under your eyes, and your mouth will raise much more, right? If you see in this actress Julia Roberts, in these 2 pictures, you would say this one is not a very genuine smile. You don't see the characteristics of the crow eye, the tea bags, or the cheeks going up, or the mouth raised. But if you look at this picture, absolutely different. You would see the tea bags, you would see her crow eyes here on the side, you see the cheeks raised and the mouth raised. This is a genuine smile. So if you want to really identify if your boss gives you a bit of a smile and it's fake, you will be able to pick it up immediately. through, but of course, don't go and tell your boss, sir, you gave me a fake smile. No, that's not the point of the presentation, but understand if you do get a fake smile, but also remember when you do smile, please give a genuine smile. It's people can pick it up, right? So in facial expressions, of course, this is another area I could take 2-3 hours on speaking, but I just took one area that would actually help you in your, especially in your day-to-day life, how to pick up a genuine smile, right? The power of persuasion is an extremely important area in communication. I'm just going to talk about, there's 6 principles in persuasion. If you really practice this, there's a book from Robert Cialdini. If you have the time, please read it. One of the most powerful books you could read. Understanding persuasion is going to take you to different levels in life. One principle is called reciprocity, right? Let me tell you what reciprocity is. And of course, I'll teach you what are the little things you can do in reciprocation, right? Reciprocity is people tend to feel obliged to return favors, regardless of whether the person likes the gift, they are still inclined to give something back. Simple form, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, right? So do simple things for people, they'll never forget it. And they are actually obliged to do something back for you. A story is a waiter's trick. Let me quickly just explain this research that they did. Waiters who brought the bill with a mint, a little toffee, and just gave it with the bill, got a 3% increase in tips. If they brought 2 mints and told the customer, here is 2 mints for you, hope you'll enjoy it, the tips increased by 14%. But if the waiter gave the 2 mints with the bill, walked away, came back and said, excuse me, you are really, I like you all very much. Here's another 2 more mints for you. The tips went up by 21%. All right. So just by doing little things makes the other person like you more. All right. So how do you do it? Reciprocation, little things. We tend to forget. Birthdays, right? We don't remember our birthday sometimes, but sometimes we don't remember the people close to us. Please remember your boss's birthday. If you want to really have a good relationship with the boss, don't forget the birthdays, right? Please remember his birthday, his wife's birthday, or her husband's birthday, children's birthday, whatever. That's really going to help you with reciprocation. No names. Understand when you speak to somebody, especially if it's really a customer, get their names right and remember their names. And the next time you meet them, speak to them by name, right? Speak to them by name. If it's a difficult name, ask them, sorry, could you pronounce your name again? It's really a unique name. Can I know how I pronounce it or how I spell it? They'll do it, right? But remember to remember names and speak to people by name. Personalized gift, try to give people a gift that is special. Generally, in our company, we try to give our clients a pen with their name on it or a mug with their name on it. Everybody loves their name, right? We are in love with our name, like it or not. So use that and give personalized gifts. In the nowadays technology, we have forgotten the simple things about giving a simple card, right? If somebody does something, take a little card, say thank you and give it to them. They will never forget it. All right. So this power of reciprocation, I would tell you, has been one of the strongest areas of how I have developed my business. I've managed to get more customers by using the technique reciprocation, right? So please use this. Very important. And this is the last slide. I'm sorry I have taken a little time. I can go on and on this subject, but most importantly is you need to understand the other person, right? We try to have communication, or we speak to people in our styles. We need to understand their style and speak to them in the way they want to be spoken to. So what is their communication style? All of us have different styles. Either we are visual, auditory, we read or write, or we're kinesthetic. So when you're trying to present something, especially to a customer, to your boss, and if you're at a presentation, if your boss is an auditory person, try to speak and use colorful words and speak to the person. But if your boss is visual, use presentations, charts, things like that. So try to see and understand what type of person you're trying to speak to. If it's your customer, speak their language. There's no point trying to speak your language to them if it doesn't connect, right? So try your best to understand what their personality or what their learning style is or their communication style is and speak to them on that aspect. And the last but not least, understand if the person you're speaking to is an introvert, an extrovert, or an ambivert, right? Introverts do not like to have this long conversations or these energetic conversations. They would like to sit down and have like a proper intellectual, calm conversation. The extroverts, you might see party animals running here, having conversations, doing all those things. So you need to understand what type of person you are communicating with. Is it an outgoing person or a more of a person that is who is a little bit closed? So you need to speak to them in that way. And ambiverts are the ones in the middle. So try to figure out, because again, in your communication, it's not about you, it's about the other person. So speak their language and you will play a big role, or you really can go further in your communication. So yeah, and the last thing is understand the person and handle the personalities accordingly, right? Sorry that I took maybe, I would say, another 15 minutes more. I always do that. I apologize. But if you need to contact me, I know that we might not have the time for any Q&A, Madam Toastmaster.
Yes, we can give for 2
maybe
minutes.
1 or 2 if it's required, or if we are out of time, we can maybe someone you could reach out to me by email, or I'm on WhatsApp if you need any help. All right, I'm also happy to help. But if there's any questions, I would be happy to maybe for 2 minutes or 3 minutes take on any questions if there are any. All right, so I believe either there's...
Yeah, we all know that making the first impression is one of the most important things when it comes to communication. So is there any specific tips you could give us where we can practice?
First impressions, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, so like I said, the first impression is all about, before you speak, it's all about what people see in terms of they see you first. So having a positive body posture, having a power walk, and also being able to smile and have an open posture is very important to be presentable, right? First of all, you're presenting yourself before you even have a conversation. It's about what the person sees. If it's your customer, if it's your boss, or if it's your friends, it's the initial few seconds is what they see. So try to make the first impression by showing your confidence, by having a good posture, keep a chin upright, smile, and give eye contact. That is, I would say, the most important element in terms of creating a first impression. And of course, then the conversation, you need to, of course, prepare for the conversation, active listening, all of those things we did. But most importantly is the visual. Try to build your visual and build your confidence initially. The first few seconds is all about what people see. I hope I answered it correctly, or?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Garwin, sir.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, sir. Actually, I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
I accept what are the points you said. I can follow everything, the smile, or when I with the eye contact, everything.
Yes.
But sometimes when I used to talk to people, without knowing me, I used to get nervous.
Yes.
So how I have to tackle that? This is one question. And the next question is like, these techniques are sometimes it not be, we can follow that, but we don't get proper response at first time, right?
Yes.
So how to tackle both of that? Oh, this was my question, sir. Kindly please answer for the same.
Sure. The second question was that if you even try, sometimes people don't notice it. Is that your question?
Yeah. People don't give me proper response when we are trying for unknown people. So
yes.
They have to negotiate, right?
Absolutely. Sorry, what is your name?
My name is Ramanish.
Ramanish, it's I think fantastic questions. Couple of questions. Basically, in terms of the first impression, you said. Sorry, what was your first question again, Ramanish?
Sorry, the first question was like, we can make what are the techniques you said, like we can smile or we can do eye contact. But sometimes without knowing myself, I used to get nervous.
Yeah. Okay. So Ramesh, basically, like I said in the presentation as well, it's like riding a bicycle, right? It's when we start, if all of us remember, or starting to walk. I don't think anybody remembers how we started to walk. We were babies, but let's talk about the bicycle. Basically, it took some time until we really learned to ride, isn't it? So it's the same with this. It's sometimes a little difficult at the beginning because your mind and your brain is fighting against what you're doing, because it is not used to giving you this option, because it's trying to protect you. Because what it's saying is, Ramesh, don't do this. You're going to get rejected, or that person is going to laugh at you, or you're not going to really have good conversation. So it's always giving you the negatives. So it's going to be initially very difficult to fight your mind. So it is, like I said, it's about trying for maybe about 30 days, right? It's never going to be that it's going to come to us naturally, or we're not going to perfect it immediately, but you got to keep trying. And down the line, it's like riding the bike, you will feel a little bit more natural, and it will come to you a little bit more easier. So Ramesh, what I would suggest is start small, keep on continuing the conversations, keep learning from every single one. Ask yourself, oh, what happened there? Why was I feeling that? How could I overcome it in the next conversation? Right? It's about learning. It's like doing Toastmasters speeches, right? We get better and better at every speech we do because of the evaluations we get. So it's up to us to evaluate ourselves and then get better at it.
So
right?
does it give us a bad image for us? Because we are going to, if I am going to meet the same people at the future. So
Yes.
when I was trying the same, practicing with them for this. So when people used to like negotiate that. So
Yeah.
at that time, as you said that we have to practice. So doesn't give that bad image.
Yes. Yes. So like Ramesh, if you are actually going to have a proper conversation with a client or your boss or something like that, of course, I would always recommend that you prepare for the conversation. What I'm saying is, maybe when you're practicing, do practice it with of course, friends and new friends that you meet. But if it's really important people, would suggest you to, of course, prepare yourself for the conversation and practice a little bit more. Especially, example, if you're giving a presentation to your boss, ideally you do a lot of practice before you actually do the presentation for key people. But when it comes to really practicing, initially try to practice it with family, with friends, get better and better at it. And down the line, of course, when it comes to even meeting your, talking to your bosses or your clients, it will make it much easier for you to really have the conversations with them once you have really learned it and when it becomes natural to you. So I understand what you're saying. So I would say, it's not going to come naturally. It's not going to come immediately. We won't be able to really become absolutely fantastic communicators. Even for myself, it took years and years until I mastered it, and I lost clients because of this. I didn't have great relations with my bosses as well because my communication wasn't great. But I learned from it down the line, practiced it, and got better at it. So I would say it's a great thing that you have that in your mind. I would say is, keep on practicing, and trust me, you will get better at it. It is just to come back always to the drawing board, understand what maybe went wrong in the conversations, and then learn from it and move forward for the next conversation. I hope that was okay. That it was clear for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you
No
for.
problem, Ramesh. You're most welcome. Keep practicing. Practicing is the key.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
You're welcome.
Yeah, in
So
the
I guess-
interest of time, we can
Yes.
end the Q&A session here.
Absolutely. So I'm contactable on WhatsApp, or you could email me. Very happy to help as many as I can or assist you. Of course, it's a very summarized presentation I did. It takes hours and actually months until we really perfect this subject with the persons I train when I coach them. But hope that you could pick up a few things in this presentation, and you could use it for your work or for your day-to-day life. So thank you very much, Saturday Circle Toastmasters Club, and look forward to meeting you hopefully physically somewhere down the line. Thank you. And Madam Toastmaster, back to you.